Hi, I'm Department of Buildings Commissioner Rick Chandler, reminding New Yorkers to always observe safety precautions on and near construction sites. The department works every day to educate construction professionals to employ best safety practices. Every New Yorker can play a role in keeping our city safe by reporting unsafe conditions. The department will follow up with an inspection. For more safety information, please visit nyc.gov and enter buildings in the search field.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Do you work in New York City? Do you employ anyone in New York City? I'm Julie Menon, the Commissioner of the Department of Consumer Affairs, and we want you to learn about the city's paid sick leave law, which requires most employers to allow sick leave so employees can care for themselves or a family member. Call 311 or visit nyc.gov/paid sick leave to find out if the law applies to you. New York City works better with paid sick leave.
Hello, this is Rose Pierre-Louis, Commissioner of the Mayor's Office to Combat Domestic Violence. We want all New Yorkers to know that if you're a victim of domestic violence, the Mayor's Office is here to help. Simply walk into one of the city's family justice centers to receive free and confidential counseling, immigration, children, and financial empowerment services, all in one location. Call 311, ask for the nearest Family Justice Center, or visit nyc.gov/domestic violence.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
Hello, this is New York City Public Advocate Letitia James. Are you the owner of a minority or women-owned business or small construction business? The city's certification program can help you obtain greater access to and information about contracting opportunities, receive technical assistance to better compete for those opportunities, and benefit from inclusion in the city's online directory of certified firms. For more information, please contact Small Business Services by calling 311 or by visiting nyc.gov/311.
I'm Stephen Banks, Commissioner of the Human Resources Administration, or HRA. For many families and individuals, it can be a challenge making ends meet. If you need help getting healthy and nutritious food, go online to foodhelp.nyc or call 311 to learn more about SNAP benefits or to find local community kitchens and food pantries. It's never been easier to apply for food help. Start by visiting foodhelp.nyc.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
¿Trabaja o tiene empleados en la ciudad de Nueva York? El Departamento de Asuntos del Consumidor quiere informarles sobre la ley de ausencia laboral debido a enfermedad, la cual exige a la mayoría de los empresarios que les concedan a sus trabajadores permiso laboral por motivos de enfermedad, para cuidar de sí mismos o de algún familiar. Llame al 311 o visite nyc.gov/paid sick leave para saber si usted está amparado por esta ley. Nueva York trabaja mejor con el pago por ausencia laboral por enfermedad.
This is Commissioner Rick Chandler, and I invite you to build your career with the Department of Buildings. Our diverse workforce of specialists in engineering, architecture, and construction help make us a worldwide leader in development and construction safety. We're seeking over 300 construction professionals to join our team that allows New York City to build safely. For more information, visit our website at nyc.gov/buildings and access the careers link. You can also view our profile on LinkedIn.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
I'm Victor Calisi, Commissioner of the Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities. Our office works to assure that people with disabilities can enjoy the rich opportunities our city has to offer. This includes the freedom to travel throughout New York City, a right most of us take for granted. For people with disabilities, traveling around the city can become a challenge when drivers fail to follow basic parking rules. Parking spaces designated for people with disabilities ensure equal access to goods and services. Parking without a permit in a designated space or using a fake permit is illegal. For more information, dial 311.
This is Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer. Bicycles are out again in force, so it's worth reminding everyone, cyclists, motorists, and pedestrians alike, to pay attention and follow the rules of the road. Cyclists should ride in the street, not sidewalks. Ride with traffic, not against it, and observe all stop signs and traffic lights. This is Gail Brewer asking you to ride safely in Manhattan.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
We all deserve respect and dignity. I'm Carmelyn P. Malalis, Commissioner and Chair of the New York City Commission on Human Rights. We help fight discrimination in housing, employment, and public accommodations, and educate the public on the city's human rights law. If you believe you've been discriminated against or are interested in learning about rights and obligations under the law, call 311 or visit nyc.gov/cchr. Together, we can build a more just and equitable city.
I'm NYC 311 Executive Director Joe Morrisroe. Are you a true New Yorker, always on the move? Download 311's free mobile app for real-time info and updates and to submit service requests on the go at nyc.gov/311.
Descarga la aplicación móvil gratuita de NYC 311 para obtener información en tiempo real y actualizada por medio de nyc.gov/311.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
This is New York City Comptroller Scott Stringer. My mandate is to watch the city's bottom line and grow our economy. That's why I hired the city's first Chief Diversity Officer to increase contract opportunities for minorities and women across city agencies. If you are a minority or women-owned business and want advice on working with the city or contracting with our office, check out the Diversity Initiatives section of our website at controller.nyc.gov. Thank you.
This is Letitia James, New York City's public advocate. My office serves as a direct link between everyday New Yorkers and city government. Think of it as a watchdog that provides oversight for city agencies, investigates citizen complaints about city services, and makes policy recommendations. If you are in need of assistance and have had trouble getting through to 311, please call my office at 212-669-7250 or get help at pubadvocate.nyc.gov.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Our doors are always open, so it is illegal for a taxi to refuse you service because of your race, ethnicity, cultural background, disability, or gender, or based on your destination if it is within New York City, Westchester, Nassau, or Newark Airport. Please know, borough taxis can't pick you up in most parts of Manhattan. If you are refused service, contact 311. Make sure you have the medallion or borough taxi number, pickup location, date, and time. We need to know. You can make a difference.
Hello, I'm Donna Corrado, Commissioner of the Department for the Aging. Are you age 60 or older? Our 260 senior centers offer social, cultural, educational, and health and wellness workshops, assistance with benefits, nutritious meals, and other life-giving activities. To learn more about DFTA, please call 311 or visit nyc.gov/aging. And remember to check on your elderly neighbors, especially during extreme weather emergencies.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311 or visit nyc.gov.
Hello, I'm Parks Commissioner Mitchell Silver. New York City Parks is fostering equity in our parks by creating thriving public spaces for all New Yorkers. The Community Parks Initiative is bringing that work to neighborhoods that need it most. by investing more city resources, including funds, staff, recreational programming, and partnership building in 55 historically under-resourced communities. The Community Parks Initiative will engage New Yorkers in rebuilding their parks, including 35 playgrounds in the project's first phase. Our goal will create new reasons to get out and get fit, and to connect more of us to green spaces in our neighborhoods. For more information on the Community Parks Initiative, upcoming public meetings, and to find out how you can get involved, visit the New York City Parks website at nyc.gov/parks or call 311.
This is Manhattan Borough President Gail Brewer announcing my new storefront Northern Manhattan office. Whether it's helping to protect mom and pop stores, improving technology in schools, or encouraging community and rooftop gardens, we are proud to be helping Manhattan neighborhoods. Learn more by visiting the new office at 431 West 125th Street or calling 212-531-1609 for an appointment.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
If you're a vendor interested in doing business with the city, we encourage you to visit the City Comptroller's Vendor Roadmap. It can be found on the Comptroller's website, comptroller.nyc.gov. The Vendor Roadmap will give you essential information, requirements, and considerations for existing and prospective vendors, and also includes helpful links for MWBE and emerging business enterprises.
Hi, I'm Department of Buildings Commissioner Rick Chandler, reminding New Yorkers to always observe safety precautions on and near construction sites. The department works every day to educate construction professionals to employ best safety practices. Every New Yorker can play a role in keeping our city safe by reporting unsafe conditions. The department will follow up with an inspection. For more safety information, please visit nyc.gov and enter buildings in the search field.
Remember, for more information about New York City government services, dial 311.
Do you work in New York City? Do you employ anyone in New York City? I'm Julie Menon, the Commissioner of the Department of Consumer Affairs, and we want you to learn about the city's paid sick leave law, which requires most employers to allow sick leave so employees can care for themselves or a family member. Call 311 or visit nyc.gov/paid sick leave to find out if the law applies to you. New York City works better with paid sick leave.
Hello, this is Rose Pierre-Louis, Commissioner of the Mayor's Office to Combat Domestic Violence. We want all New Yorkers to know that if you're a victim of domestic violence, the Mayor's Office is here to help. Simply walk into one of the city's family justice centers to receive free and confidential counseling, immigration, children, and financial empowerment services, all in one location. Call 311, ask for the nearest family justice center, or visit nyc.gov.
Good afternoon, everybody. We sure appreciate your company. I want to start by wishing our Jewish neighbors a blessed Yom Kippur. And my Jewish neighbors tell me that what the readings that they hear from the Bible today, this is their day of fasting, but they tell me that the readings they hear from the Bible today when they go to synagogue on this high holy day is one of the great prophets of Israel say, this is the kind of fast I want, to feed the hungry and to shelter the homeless. That, by the way, is the stunning message of Pope Francis, who, as we speak, is in our nation's capital. And as we speak, we joyfully anticipate his arrival here tomorrow. That sets the tone for what I think the mayor and I are about this beautiful fall afternoon. I want to start by thanking you for your interest. I want to start by expressing a word of welcome. And I want to also introduce, where'd Father Harold go? Father Harold is the superior here of the Franciscans of the Renewal, the Friars of the Renewal, and this is St. Anthony's Shelter. And this provides everybody a splendid and appropriate backdrop for what we're about, because what the Franciscan Friars do here is feed the hungry and shelter the homeless. Here's what happened. About 6 weeks ago, Mayor de Blasio called and said, "Can I talk?" And I said, "Sure." He said, I have to come together with a whole array of civic and religious and business leaders throughout the city to really begin to meet the challenge of the homeless." And he said, "Would you be one of those partners?" I said, "Mayor, you're singing my song. Count us in. We've been doing it for a long time. I'm glad Monsignor Sullivan is here with Catholic Charities. I'm glad Bishop Janik is here, the vicar here at the Bronx. We've been doing it for a long time, as they know better than I do." But I said, "Mayor, count us in." And what he said, one of the ways we could really use your help is by letting us use some church facilities that are no longer in use for sheltering the homeless, and looking ahead and dreaming about long-term affordable housing. The mayor's going to go into more details. I just want to know it's a great honor for the church to partner. There's nothing we're more natural and good about doing than in feeding the hungry and helping the poor and sheltering the homeless. For the mayor to trust us enough to partner with us, with a heck of a lot of other people, to partner with our dedicated elected officials here, means a lot to us, and kind of has even an added ring of authenticity on this vigil of the arrival of the Pope named after the man who did so much for the poor. So, Mayor, it's good to be here with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you so much, Your Eminence. And I want to echo your point. This is a week of faith in New York City, as our Jewish brothers and sisters today worship on Yom Kippur, and as the whole city anticipates the arrival of Pope Francis. It's an amazing moment. It's an introspective moment. It's a moment to recommit ourselves. And I want to thank Cardinal Dolan for the extraordinary leadership he provides in this city every day, not just to the many, many followers of the Catholic faith who live in the Archdiocese and beyond, but also to all New Yorkers.
Thank you. Would you tell my boss that too?
I will. In fact, I will have a chance to provide your boss with an update on your progress.
Way to go.
He actually asked me to schedule a job evaluation, so I told him the fact is this partnership with the Archdiocese is so important to so much we do. And when Cardinal Dolan and I spoke, we said not only do we have needs that we must meet to serve our people, but we said we have to honor Pope Francis. We have to heed his call. Pope Francis is calling us all to action. He's asking all of us, doesn't matter what faith you are, doesn't matter what country you live in, he's asking all of us to do more to help those in need. So when the Cardinal and I spoke, we talked about reaching farther, heeding His Holiness's call, putting it into action, and doing more together. That is what brought us to this day, and that is what frames this extraordinary initiative we're going to describe. I want to take a moment before I get into this, because there is another important thing that's happened that we're all feeling as New Yorkers. So, Your Eminence, with your indulgence, and you and I are both real baseball fans, yes. you will join. You're a St. Louisan by birth, so you'll appreciate this moment. The people of New York City have lost Yogi Berra, and one of the people I think defined life in this city. We all looked up to Yogi. We all felt a personal sense of connection. I think for so many of us, it felt like there was another member of our families, and that was Yogi Berra. And it's easy enough to talk about his career. It was absolutely extraordinary. 10 World Series, more than any other player has been a part of, 10 World Series victories, 3 MVP awards, 15-time All-Star, an extraordinary record of accomplishment, Hall of Famer. But I think what was so endearing about him was the warmth and the wit and the humanity, and yes, the foibles. And there are many yogiisms, and they are often a part of our life in this city. My personal favorite, I quote it often, is the famous 90% of this game is half mental, which I think could be said of public life as well. But It's a day to celebrate all that Yogi Berra has meant to New York City. It's obviously a sad day, but a day to celebrate 90 extraordinary years and a real part of our culture. Well, back to this important moment and what we're doing together. St. Anthony's Shelter exemplifies what the church has done for those in need for centuries. Taking in people no matter what their condition, no matter what life has dealt them, and helping them to a better path. His Holiness has reminded us to not denigrate or minimize people in pain or people who have found challenges that overcame them. His Holiness reminds us of our common humanity, and he instructs us to think of people who don't have a home first as human beings, not as faceless burdens on society. And that's the spirit that brings us here today, to recognize that if we're really going to remember that there but for the grace of God go I, that homelessness is something that could happen to anyone. In fact, it has happened to some people who thought their lives were secure and thought their circumstances were strong, but then found themselves on the wrong end of a bad development and found themselves without a home. Homelessness is something that can happen to anyone. And so we have to honor the Pope's vision by being there for those who are struggling. What we have agreed to with the Archdiocese, on top of so many other efforts we do together, is that together we will find 150 emergency beds for people who are homeless as part of our Safe Haven effort. 150 beds that will be in churches and in community spaces that are part of the Archdiocese to help those in great need and to help them come off the street and to someplace that is better and healthier for them. We are locating the sites, and we will have these beds available for homeless New Yorkers as this winter begins. This is the first of a series of things we will do together, the Archdiocese and the City of New York, to address homelessness and to address the overall affordable housing crisis in this city. I want you to understand what the Safe Haven situation or the Safe Haven approach means. And I'll take this occasion to say, I'll give my explanation, but if you have questions, we have a real expert here, our Commissioner for Homeless Services, Gilbert Taylor. And I also want to take the occasion to thank Monsignor Sullivan for his extraordinary work at Catholic Charities and thank Father Ignatius, who is the director of this wonderful facility. Safe havens recognize that there are some individuals who live on the streets and have not been willing to come into shelter. Remember, in New York City, we have an obligation to provide shelter for everyone in need. We do it every single day. And there are some individuals who are not willing to come into shelter. Maybe they've had a bad experience in a shelter before, maybe because of some of the challenges they face, such as mental health problems or substance abuse problems. They don't feel comfortable in a larger setting. But what we have found through real experience is that a smaller, more intimate, more supportive setting will actually draw people off the streets and to where they can get help. And those are called safe havens. And what we found is in the safe havens, these are often very small, sort of home-like atmospheres. In the safe havens, someone who previously wasn't willing to accept mental health services or wasn't willing to acknowledge that they had a substance abuse problem that needed treatment, that in that kind of more supportive setting, some individuals have had a breakthrough, they've turned a corner, and they've gotten their lives back together. So, as we know about all humanity, there's not a reality of one size fits all. We need what works for each individual. And for some people, this safe haven is the only way that we can reach them and turn their life around. So we have to do it on a bigger scale because we're devoted to getting people off the streets and into housing they deserve. This initiative we're calling Open Doors because it suggests very clearly that all are welcome. They're not going to be judged. No one will be turned away. No one will be told that they have a problem that we can't address. It's going to be an open door, a welcoming situation. 500 beds will be a part of this initiative. Again, this is the safe haven approach that has been proven to work here and in other places around the country. So the Opening Doors initiative will be 500 beds from faith-based organizations around the city. The 150 we announced today being the core of this effort. The church's commitment today builds upon the extraordinary generosity we have found from houses of worship all over the city through our Clergy Advisory Council. A number of houses of worship from all boroughs have joined together and have pledged 300 beds over the 5 boroughs. So we're getting close to our goal between these different efforts. And again, houses of worship of every denomination, every background, every faith working together. All of us can feel commonality in Pope Francis's vision of a more inclusive society. Doesn't matter, again, what faith you believe in. Pope Francis is a moral voice speaking to all of us, calling all of us to action. And it's rooted in a respect for our common humanity. Now, we know that while so many good people are trying to serve those who have experienced misfortune, there are still too many times when homeless people are treated as less than human. They're ostracized, they're stigmatized, they're dehumanized. And that's part of the problem. Cardinal Dolan wrote an extraordinarily eloquent op-ed a couple of weeks ago that talked about his own personal path of realization. I think every one of us can admit to, at times, not seeing enough of the common humanity. But it's something we have to come to grips with. And what better time to do that than when we have the leading moral voice on this earth in our midst over the next 48 hours. The problem is not a new one. For decades, we've had a profound challenge with homelessness. But what is new is the huge weight of the economic reality we face today and what that is doing to change homelessness as we know it. Yes, there are still many, many people who are homeless, first and foremost because of a mental health problem or a substance abuse problem. But more and more we see people are homeless for purely economic reasons. The bottom fell out of their family budgets. They lost a job, they couldn't find a new one. The cost of housing, which has continued to skyrocket, overtook them. So there's a lot of different challenges in the homelessness crisis, and we have to address all of them, and we will do it with extraordinary partners like the Archdiocese. But in terms of the particular challenge of those who have some of the biggest problems, the most intractable problems, the safe haven approach and this Opening Doors effort will be essential. In the end, we have to see each and every individual as homeless as one of us. A fellow New Yorker needs a helping hand and who we can help. I mentioned the Cardinal's op-ed. One of the most powerful passages in it is when he said and this is, I think, a good admonishment to all of us. The Cardinal said, what we cannot do is reduce these troubled people to a problem to get rid of, quote unquote, a problem to get rid of. We can't see our fellow New Yorkers as a problem. We have to see them as people who have not yet been redeemed and helped in the way we need to. So we'll continue to invest in addressing this problem. As you've heard, we've added over $1 billion in new investments to address homelessness over the next 4 years, and that will include rental subsidies to get people out of shelter or to keep people from going into shelter to begin with, mental health services on an unprecedented level, and more outreach to people on the street to get them into places like these safe havens. All of these efforts will allow us to finally address the true nature of this problem, and on top of it, the nation's largest affordable housing program, which we know more and more will allow us to get to the root of this problem. One point, and I think it's very important to note as a measure of hope, because one thing we can say about Pope Francis is, even in a complicated and difficult world, he gives us hope. There's a relentlessness to the hope he imbues in everything he does. We know amidst the challenges, in the last fiscal year in this city, 38,000 people, thank God, left shelter and went to permanent housing. And I've talked about the 15,000 of them that were a result of brand new programs we put in place just in the last year. So we have a big challenge, but we're also finding more and more ways to get people on a better path and to get them to the help they need. I want to finish with a brief quote from His Holiness, and then just want to say a few words in Spanish. I think His Holiness has done more than any leader I can ever remember to help us see a clear path forward. He said, quote, "The measure of the greatness of a society is found in the way it treats those most in need, those who have nothing apart from their poverty." I think that gives us our mandate, and a mandate worthy of a city we are proud of and proud to call the greatest city in the world. In Spanish, tenemos el deber moral de ayudar a nuestros hermanos neoyorquinos en problemas. Con la ayuda de la Iglesia Católica, estamos ampliando la capacidad para servir a otros clientes de personas que viven en las calles de la ciudad. Con este acuerdo daremos cama, comida y servicios sociales a personas que viven en las calles. With that, before I bring up our elected officials, I want you to hear from Father Harold, who plays a key role in the efforts here, because as the Cardinal and I were talking to Father Harold about why safe havens are so important to reaching people with particular challenges and problems, he defined, I think, better than I ever could, what's needed to get someone off the streets and on a better path. So, Father Harold, we thank you so much for what you do, and we would be honored to hear you talk about the great work that's happening here.
Come on, Harold. Oh, boy. You have more applause than I do. This
First of all, I'd just like to make it clear that I'm really not the superior here of this house. Our vicar and our servant are away at meetings, so I'm kind of the stand-in. Really just simply what I shared with the mayor and the cardinal earlier was it's all about relationships. It's about friendship. That's what attracts people. That's what makes them feel valued. It's when they feel that their person, their being, their existence has value. It's recognized. It's appreciated. And that's what allows walls of defenses to go down and trust to emerge. And if I could refer to a quote from the biography of St. Francis, our founder, written by G.K. Chesterton, describing St. Francis, he said, "It didn't matter whether it was the king or the sultan or a leper in rags. Anyone into whose eyes the poor man of Assisi looked knew that they were taken seriously and valued by him." He had that capacity to look at somebody and communicate that they were important. And in a small way, that's what we try to do to the men that come here, is to welcome them, appreciate them. And we all know that in our own lives, when that takes place, something opens up inside of us, our heart expands, and what might not have been possible before becomes possible in that context of friendship.
Beautiful. Well done. Well done. Beautiful. Thank you very, very much, Father. Our elected officials have been tremendous allies in the effort to help the homeless. And I'd first like to introduce, now we have mother and daughter, so I think the judicious thing is mother goes first. And so I'd like to introduce New York State Assembly Member Carmen Arroyo.
Way to go, Carmen. Brava. Be brava.
Gracias, alcalde.
De nada.
It's a great day, and it's not only a great day for us. It's a great day because the information that we are gathering here is one that makes me happy and make me proud to be a representative of one of the poorest districts of the state of New York in the State Assembly, the 84 Assembly District, that this program is going to take care of those that nobody want to see around them and happen to be men that have a lot of problems that are going to be taken care of. I'm proud I'm happy to hear it. I'm very proudly I will vote for any assignment of money for a program like this in the state of New York. God bless you, and God bless all of you too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Be careful. Well done. Brava. Que viva.
And now, a good friend from the New York City Council, and we thank the council for all their support throughout. Maria del Carmen Arroyo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you all for being here. I think it's really important to understand that while individuals in our position often struggle with the siting of particular facilities in our communities, we also recognize the need for these facilities to deal with a very challenging problem that is not just a New York City problem. Anyone who, some of you reported this morning, Los Angeles has seen a double-digit increase in homelessness in the last 2 years. Economy is a problem, and individuals find themselves in harm's way. We have an obligation to provide a path for stability for them. And as I mentioned to the commissioner before we started this press conference, that we need responsible providers to provide that safety net for these individuals. And the brothers in our community here are a staple. And they take care of not only the homeless, but they help develop our youth and develop our future leaders in our community. And this has got to be one of the safest areas of our community because of the presence of the brothers here. So I want to thank you for that. And thank you for the work that you do and for stepping up. The Catholic Church has always been a partner in dealing with all of the issues that people confront in their everyday lives. It just makes great sense for us to bring them into the fold in a more aggressive way so that they can continue to replicate the services that they provide here to the men that come here every single night. I used to live around the corner and could see the activity going back and forth. You would not know that there's a homeless facility across the street from the home that I rented on 155th because they're responsible providers and they do what's required of them with grace, with compassion, and take care of those that need it so desperately. So I want to thank you for that because that is worth celebrating. And yes, we should replicate it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and welcome to my district. And Cardinal, that's a very cool hat you're carrying.
It should be black and mourning.
All right.
Here in the Bronx.
So we will now take questions about this initiative and how we're addressing homelessness and obviously about the Pope's visit as well. Yes?
500 beds being spread out across all 5 boroughs?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Absolutely, yes.
Could you give a concrete example, the 150 that you spoke about, I guess that's the first phase of it. What is it, maybe like 5 beds here, 4 there? Is that what you mean, like wherever?
Yes, I'll start, and Gil or Kevin, anyone who wants to join in, feel free. These tend to be, again, smaller facilities. For example, if you're talking about a church or a church community center, you know, that might be a position where you could have 10 people, 15 people, something like that, who you could accommodate in a fairly intimate setting and give them the kind of support they need. So the idea is that we're looking for a variety of settings where we can maintain that kind of atmosphere. You want to add, or Kevin?
So that's absolutely correct, Mayor. So we're looking at places where we can have, you know, smaller groups of people. We can connect them with services, social services that will come to them. We can also deploy resources that will meet them where they're at. So we have psychiatrists and psychologists who work on our street outreach work with us, and they'd be able to be deployed to these different locations and really engage our clients who are there around getting them back on their feet and getting them housed.
Identified the 150 yet?
We're still working with the Archdiocese to do that.
You know, I think working with Catholic Charities, working with the Department of Homeless Services, variety of sizes, but we're not talking about the big 100, 200 bed stuff, but, you know, enough. But the critical point is that there will be services and there will be the attempt to engage the individuals in a very interpersonal way so that they feel at home. There's a connection which will enable them to deal with some of the difficult issues that there are.
So again, I want to make sure to be clear. The overall initiative, the Opening Doors initiative, is 500 beds. 150 have been pledged by the Archdiocese of New York, where obviously we work very regularly with the Diocese of Brooklyn separately as well. But 150 have been pledged by the Archdiocese of New York. 300 have been separately pledged by a variety of faith leaders, many different faiths, all over the 5 boroughs. So again, we're getting close to that overall goal of 500 beds. Yes?
Are any of these available today to be moved into?
Well, we're just starting the initiative now. You want to talk about the timeline?
So our timeline is aggressive. I mean, we're looking to start getting these beds up and running within the next few weeks. We're preparing the spaces. We're thinking about exactly what the programming will look like, and really just working to move fast and quick to really get the spaces up as quickly as we can.
Mayor, although I applaud the effort at the city level and the state level, as we know, when Reagan was the president, national housing subsidy money was cut by over 70%. I'm Gene Rice from Kitchen to Homeless, and I confess that I'm a little disappointed that nobody's here from the U.S. Congress to represent New York, because I don't think it's fair for the governor and you to have to shoulder this burden by yourself. I think we're going to need the support of elected officials in Congress to partner with the governor.
Thank you. We have had a lot of support from our congressional delegation, but I think your question hits home on the point that the current environment in Washington has stood in the way of support for things like affordable housing in general, let alone for efforts to help the homeless, and that's been going on for quite a few years. And I think you're right, the origins of it go back to the 1980s. But I do want to say our congressional delegation, I think, has been fighting hard. I think they are fighting an uphill battle because of the overall dynamic in Washington. Yes?
Mr. Mayor, at these facilities where these beds are going to be held, will there be security there or
yes.
there? Just wondering how it will work logistically.
So there will be security. There will also be social service staff. We're also going to have staff who will be mobile and who will go to these sites on an ongoing basis. As I had mentioned, there's psychiatrists and there's psychologists that are attached to our teams that can participate in the work. There's going to be cleaning staff. There's going to be, the full complement of everything that we would need to have a residential setting, and really just make sure that we're providing our clients with what they need at these locations.
DHS employees?
It'll be a complement of nonprofit providers and some DHS employees all working together to do this.
Yes, Anna.
The only drop-in center on Staten Island already sends homeless individuals to various sites around the island, faith-based organizations. But some of these people who go to the center don't actually take them up on that offer, and thus the spillover effect has caused a bit of a problem in the St. George community in terms of the community not being appreciative of how...
Go to the question.
Yeah, so I was wondering, how are you guys going to get folks to actually take the city and the Archdiocese up on this, and whether or not you've thought about how the spillover effect affects communities?
Well, again, I don't know if I define it that way, so I'll start, and Commissioner and Monsignor jump in. I think the notion here is we know there's a certain number of people. The last formal count we had was over the winter, about 3,000 individuals who live on the street 24/7, as opposed to the much larger number of folks who are in shelter, certainly at night and other parts of the day. This initiative is for anyone who has not come in, has not chosen shelter or a separate path, and we need it to be wherever people are. So that's why it is a citywide initiative. We believe the more options that people experience, and I thought Father Harold's comments were incredibly powerful, the more that we show people who have been resistant to receiving help that they can receive help in a positive, respectful manner, the more people come in, the fewer people will be on the streets. We're also simultaneously trying to improve the reality in our larger shelters because there are some others who I think would go into larger shelters if they felt they were safer and a more conducive environment. So we put a lot of investment in that as well. So that's the essence of this, and that's how I think we get people off the streets in general. You want to add, or Monsignor?
So just to add, as it pertains to drop-ins, so these will work in partnership with our drop-in centers, with our outreach providers, and there'll be real connections in terms of how do we get the people who need the beds to the beds that become available.
Just the commissioner, could you speak a little bit about the situation on Staten Island? Because I know there's been a lot of community complaints about that drop-in center specifically.
So I can tell you, we know exactly where our clients are. We know where the needs are. We know that Staten Island is a place where we could benefit from having more resources, and we're looking very deliberately as part of our open doors initiative to find sites that would meet that need. So Staten Island is squarely on our radar, and we're looking at the programming needs for that borough.
I want to also emphasize, and I think, again, it amplifies what Father Harold said. When I call the commissioner whenever I see a homeless individual on the street, many times after a few minutes he'll call me back and tell me exactly who the individual is, because his outreach workers have had such regular connection to that individual. They know who he is, or what the background is, what the history is. We're a city of 8.5 million people. There are 3,000 people living permanently on the streets. That number we obviously think has grown a bit over the summer, but it's a finite number of people, so finite that the Department of Homeless Services literally has a profile on many people and is trying to figure out the best way to bring them in. What we've lacked is enough of these safe haven beds to be able to say in any given moment, if you're willing to come in, we can get you in right then while you're willing, while you're open. And then it gets to Father Harold's point. It is about persuading an individual, and an individual in many cases who's dealing with some big challenges, to believe, to have faith, to have trust that they actually can and should go into this location. But that means having the beds available and having the right people talking to them.
Question for the commissioner. Once someone has been identified as needing help for the safe haven, is there a maximum amount of time that they could stay at the shelter, or what's the process to helping them get back on their feet after they've been checked in?
And so our outreach teams that are working with all the street homeless individuals will identify clients who would be appropriate for referral to the beds that we'll be opening up. And those clients, once they're engaged and they're willing to come in, we don't tell them that you have to be out by a particular date. They can stay in and receive the services until such time as we can graduate them to more independent living or to bring them into a more traditional shelter center. The reality is it takes some time. It takes some time for an individual to settle, to kind of really de-stress from having been on the street, and then to begin working with us around what is the goal, what is a housing plan for that individual. So there's no time limit, but we really try to work aggressively with every client to make sure that what that concrete service need is addressed when they come inside.
Quick follow-up question. How confident are you guys that you'll get the remaining 50 beds that you've asked for?
Very. Look, the response from the Archdiocese is extraordinary, and I want to thank the Cardinal because it just speaks volumes of the willingness of the Archdiocese to always answer the city's call to help us solve a problem. I can't remember a time when you said no, and I thank you, whether it was pre-K, affordable housing, homelessness, and I thank you on behalf of the people in New York City. And the rest of the faith community as well. It's just been this is a conversation we've had just over weeks, and you see where the numbers have gone already. So I'm absolutely confident we will hit the final number. See who else on this side, and in the back, Nikita.
Do you think the Pope's visit, you talked about him a lot today, do you think he's going to help boost your agenda when it comes to the homeless and getting people to be more sympathetic and
I will borrow from history for a moment. There's a story that's told. I presume it has a basis in truth. That during the Civil War, there was a gathering of Abraham Lincoln and his generals. And at the end of the gathering, as they were breaking up and going off to battle, one of the generals said, "Gentlemen, let us pray together that God is on our side." And the story goes that President Lincoln said, "No, gentlemen, let us pray together that we are on God's side." So we're amplifying the Pope's agenda. We're answering his call to action. And I think leaders all over the nation and all over the world are doing the same. I had the honor in July of being at the Vatican, where the Pope called together dozens and dozens of mayors from around the world to act in common cause on climate change. He has a moral authority to do that, and there's no other leader who is able to call people to action in that way. So I would argue that a lot of us are trying to answer his call to action on issues like income inequality, on poverty, on climate change, using the tools we have locally to do all we can do to create a more just society. Thanks, everyone.
Tell the guy now.